Hello everyone and welcome to Trollspejlet's live stream. Today we are going to talk about how to train your warhorse in light of our recent tournament that in ours and our friends' opinion was a massive success. We managed to get a whole lot of people and a whole lot of horses through our really fun tournament. So what we're going to do today is to have a look at two different horses with completely different backgrounds so that you can have an idea of how to start your warhorse, however he looks or she, when you start them off.
And of course, no horse is exactly the same as these, but what we are doing, what we're going to show today is a lot of basic stuff that we have talked about in all the other streams. So the basic stuff, we have talked a lot about that in other streams. So go back to those if you're unsure of something or if it's not exactly the same as your horse.
Yes, I would like to take the opportunity to nag about one of my what do you call it?
Pet peeves?
Pet peeves. Yeah. And it is that training needs to be viewed in a broader light than only do what you want to do. That is a good way to train if you don't want to reach a high level. But if you want to reach a given level, say you want to have yourself or whatever it is ride in armor on a horse that may be big or not big, depending on very well suited to carry you or not very well suited to carry you. That means that that horse is probably going to be fairly close to its maximum capacity when it's carrying you. And if you want to go to that place, you need to have a really broad base. So what we do when we start training a horse is to give it as broad a base as possible. And I do not talk about, we test to do 7 billion different things. That's not the width of the base. The width of the base is how strong is the horse, how well conditioned is it, how explosive, how flexible, how balanced, and a bunch of other physical qualities that you can train into your horse, and you can train into yourself for that matter. But that is how you build the base. If the strength is very high, if the conditioning is very high, if the horse is very flexible and very well balanced, if all those things are in hand, it is not difficult to do the specific training. But if you start the specific training too soon, then the horse will max out way before its potential is reached. Here is how that happens. If you want to train a sprinter, you must be very careful with disturbing sprinting technique by putting weight on or another sort of load on the sprinter, pulling something while they're sprinting. Because the sprint technique will be adapted to whatever you train it in and with. So that means that if you want to get stronger for sprinting, and you do that by pulling some weight, then your coordination will be messed up for the sprints when you take the weights back off. The same thing is true for if you want to have a horse for jousting. If you just start joust training with a weight that is then in the beginning too high for the horse, right? Either you weigh too much with your armor, or the task is just too difficult as of yet. If you start like that, you will max out at a very low level. If you instead train the strength in other ways, like you train your strength in dressage training, for instance, then you will be able to get a much higher level horse, and then you add specificity on top of that. This is important to understand if you want to get really far in your training of a horse.
Mm-hmm. Can you say something about what we, or perhaps I can say it because I was the one watching when it happened. Because we have been talking a lot in the streams about how to get the horse to move off the back. That means that the horse is lifting his back for each step, and when Mandarb was able to do that, when you asked to lift himself up through the under you,
Yeah.
then you tried with the armor on.
Yeah.
And
so
your armor is like 40 kilos or something like that, or a little less
36.
without the helmet. It's a little less, but at least it's a lot.
It's a substantial weight.
Yes,
If you add me
it's
as well,
different.
it's a substantial
Yeah,
weight.
and I could see when you got up that he was like, oh, he just
Braced himself up into the weight.
and he lifted himself up, and then his hind legs came under, and he was like, okay, now I really have to stabilize. And you didn't ride much for that session, just to get him used to it. And then for each time you rode him in the armor, then you varied, of course. We're talking about variation all the time. It's important.
Yeah.
But we could see that, and also what we're going to say, talk a lot about in this stream, is how that helped him brace for the hit when you actually jousted.
Yeah. Because we actually jousted on Mandarb this weekend. 18 passes, I think we had to do. And from the first to the last, I couldn't feel a difference. So
he was
guess it was
just
all right.
like, he's doing. Yeah, I said to someone else this morning that, when big strong men try to break through a door that is closed, you just you do this.
Close it in, and then.
And that is what he's doing.
Yeah, he
when
does
he's jousting. He knows there's gonna be a hit, and then he braces with.
Yep.
The back is doing this, but Dalton, he's doing this.
Yeah.
He's like, wah!
Yeah. So he falls
So
through.
he's still that, because he has had a lot of problems with his back, and his shoulders and his very stiff neck. So we're going to show you what we've done. We've done the same thing, same method with both horses. With Dalton, we've done it like for more than 6 years. With Mandarb, 2 years, but he was young, and there was not big problems.
He was young, and he was strong, and he was king.
Yes. So, shall we start with some of the terrible ones when they were really when in the beginning?
Of course, let's go before.
Yeah.
Here's some before action.
Let's see if we. I'll have to just
decide
because they are. Yeah, let's take 03E13. That's Dalton. Look at this trot. You can see that I'm really trying to make him with my seat, trying to make him move over the back, but he's not able to do it.
No.
And it's so it's not bouncy. It's like very hard and difficult to sit to.
Yeah, it's not that bouncy because it's quite small.
It's very small,
but it's very disruptive.
Yeah.
And that is because the whole area underneath the saddle stays in the same position all the time. So there is no elasticity there whatsoever. And that is either because he's completely inactive in that area, or because it is completely blocked up and it just doesn't release.
We know that it is blocked up, and his neck is very stiff.
In this case, it's blocked up, but it can be the same. It can be the same look when the horse is inactive as well.
Yeah. Okay, so
right.
Shall we have a look at
so that's
Mandarb
before.
as well?
Yeah, sure. Let's go Mandarb as well.
Yeah,
like early days Mandarb?
Early days Mandarb. And I have to choose the worst one. And let's take this 42.25.
Right, so this is last winter, is it? Autumn, maybe?
You see that it's a very small trot?
Yeah.
We're doing the same. Doing half halts.
Same thing.
But there is not that much movement under the saddle.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, that's where we started, or that's where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
With those two.
Let's try another with Mandar 4323.
Oh yeah, that's the
It's the
spring
same.
following, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is in the spring.
And you can see the half halts because he was like hard in the contact.
Yeah, the contact was not hard, tough.
Tough, yeah. And you can see that it's difficult for him. He's like stumbling. That is the sign that he's not over the back. And let's say, see Dalton, like 70-49.
Right, so what are we looking at now?
Yeah, we're trying to, like, the posting to the trot.
Yeah.
And now he's more relaxed. The trot is more...
it's quite a lot bigger.
Yeah. And he's stretching a little more.
Yeah, he's stretching from the front backwards. It still looks like the hindquarters are just blocked out, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you tell us a little more? Tell the others how you can see that. What are you looking for?
You
do that to me all the time.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. What I'm looking at is with this horse in particular. The first thing I see is that, like from the top of his pelvis and forwards to the saddle, there's quite a steep downhill.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then if that is the case, then I look, do the hind legs reach under well? And they don't really.
No.
Especially not the inside hind in this particular case. Looks like the outside hind reaches a little better. Mm-hmm. But also I look at how do the joints in the hind leg work together. And what I see is that he bends them when he lifts the leg off the ground, and then he stretches them out so that they can hit the ground like a pogo stick.
Yeah, and that mechanism does not lift the back.
And then then you can see that the last, and you just keep watching this, and you will see the same thing. When those hind legs hit the ground, you will see that point just behind the saddle drops down every time the inside hind hits the ground. You see the lower back drops more as in relation to the pelvis. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. That means the energy does not travel up through the back.
It doesn't travel anywhere, actually.
But we have to open up the front of the back and the neck before we can ask for it.
So then we could say that perhaps a piaffe or collection would help.
No.
No?
No, it wouldn't. You have to stretch out the back first.
Yeah. But he wasn't able to stretch his back.
That is true. So these things are so complex, we can't go through every detail here. But sometimes Sometimes if I'm training my wife or if I'm training someone else who struggles to carry themselves correctly when they're moving and when they're riding, I will take them into the gym and I will give them some weights and they will try to do a deadlift or a squat, for instance, with some extra weight on. And what happens then is that the central nervous system gets input that it hasn't had in a long time or not before. And during that instant when the nervous system goes, oh, what's going on here? I will be able to see how the body reacts to stress. And then we can address the different points in the body that react the wrong way to stress. So, for instance, some muscles will be too hard and not give or not be malleable through the movement. So they will just go blocked. So that doesn't move anymore, and then the shoulder has to do some funky stuff to make sure the arm moves, something like that. Mm-hmm. And if that happens in the back, of course, that's a different story.
Yeah, so Dalton has had this huge knots in his muscles on the left hand side of the neck. As we have said. Yeah, we've talked about that so many times. Yep. So, but I have one video of me trying to make him stretch in trot. Let's try to
stretch.
See. Yeah.
Cool.
58.50. We're going very quickly through these videos because we have many, so we haven't got time to show them many times. But you can always. Yeah, it's a little. The quality is not that good,
right.
but we can see the outline.
Yeah. It's just this is a long time ago.
Yeah. You can see he's trying to stretch, but even though I give his reins.
Yeah, even if you're standing and giving the rein, it still looks like you're gonna bounce off.
Yeah, and also he's like curling behind the
behind the vertical.
The nose behind the vertical, and because everything is blocked and too short. But we have done this for 6 years, and it has helped. It has helped.
And this must be about 6 years ago. I remember that car.
Yeah, right. So, and we have most videos of Dalton, of course, because he's
been with us for a long time.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. Yeah. But let's look at the piaffe with me first. The 0903, because then you can see how disunited it is. He was. You can see that his hind legs are starting to do something, but
they're doing something.
But the energy does not go through the body and it doesn't lift me.
No, but what is going on here is that he's actually trying to stay slightly bent in the knee and the hock when the hind legs are on the ground. He's still not engaging his hamstrings properly. So you can see that the front side of the thigh, the musculature, is more active and easier to see than the back side. See that?
Yep.
That means the horse still cannot lift up. So all his musculature tends towards making his back more sway and straightening his knees out. That's what he wants to do. And you can read about this in many, many riding instruction books. You can see that horses that are strong in the hindquarters, you cannot force them to bend the knees and hocks.
Yeah, but it's easy to see that he's really strong in his hindquarters. And not so strong in his neck.
Big hindquarters, but that's the problem. If you let all that energy into that weak back and neck, it's not going to be able to withstand the force.
So that he needs to be able to stretch.
Yep.
So that is what we have been doing. But
Absolutely.
he needs to train. You need to train everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Before we continue on, what we have been showing now is that first you have to find out what are the weaknesses of my horse, and then the general purpose training must correct for those weaknesses. That's how we do it. Yeah. There are other ways to train, but we don't talk about other ways because this is what we do. No other reason. So what we do is this, and what we do is find where the weakness is. In this case, because the horse is so stiff in the back, like up there somewhere underneath the saddle, and those muscles always stay super tense. They stay tense because they are the weakest muscle. The difficult thing then becomes that you have to take stress or strain away from the horse in order to make those muscles relax and to start move and flex and contract and stretch again.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to stretch the back in these particular cases. This is true for a lot of horses, not necessarily your horse, but for many horses this is true. That's why we do it. So the general purpose training, the first point is find the fault. Now we have found the fault, on to
trying to solve it.
Fixing. And your job, find a video to show it.
But the fixing is... we haven't got any videos today about which exercises to use.
No, we don't have to think about that.
We don't talk about the exercises. All exercises are good. You can do the lateral movements, and you do the half halts. You do the
for sure
the transitions. All those things, but you have to look for the quality in
those
the
exercises.
the quality in the gaits.
In the gates, sorry, my bad.
The basic gaits, you need to look for the quality, because then you want the horse to lift its back and to understand how that is done. And then, to be able to do that, the horse needs to, you need to work on the stretching. Even though the end result is that the horse is going to be able to collect. And we've been talking about that so many times, I guess you're bored of that.
Oh, one thing that works here. The horse needs to be able to, what did you say? Needs to be able to stretch in order to collect.
Yeah.
Like a really weird thing again. Me and my off track into something else. So today, bodybuilding, and the bodybuilder in question is called Flex Wheeler. And 20 years ago or so, he made his debut on the professional scene and was the most flexible bodybuilder on the scene. He would do the splits all sides, all kinds of ways. But nobody had better separation of the muscle and better ability to contract the muscles than he did. Mm-hmm. And there was a massive difference from absolute stretched to absolute contracted. Not only in the length, but of course in height. In the muscle.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, I think so.
And that comes from the abilities to stretch.
Yeah, right.
From there comes the ability to contract the muscle. Mm-hmm. So, if you want the horse to use its muscles correctly, it needs to be able to stretch them and to contract them.
Mm-hmm. And if Dalton was just in the middle.
Yeah, and remember this wild thing? The top line is longest when the horse is collected.
Mm-hmm.
Think. It's a really important thing to understand. Please tag along with that. Do you have something that looks better on both of those horses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can have some end results and then go back to some of the problems, because we need to look at the problems as well.
You and your problems.
Yeah. Those are the ones that we are going to solve.
Yeah.
We can have a look at Dalton when he's finally managing to canter on the tilt.
For sure.
Okay.
Let's go.
1812.
Oh, the overture.
Yeah. Tchaikovsky. Look at that canter. This is not Dalton, This is just before the tournament. And he was actually jousting in the tournament. He was very difficult.
Yeah. You see my arms are flopping all about and all that sort of stuff. That's because I'm trying to the best of my ability to sit him as soft as I can. So he's all right in the beginning. Now he starts bouncing. But I managed to ride him, keep moving forward with him, just about. And he stays in a fairly good outline all the time.
And you're doing quite a good job with your seat.
Thank you.
You can see that he's trying to make his seat go in that circular movement that Dalton needs to move the saddle in order to be over the back.
And here he really moves forward. This is a pretty frisk canter for him.
Yeah.
Because and he swings his whole back end underneath him.
Let's see if we can find a video of him when you try to canter on him. And shall we try 59.75?
We can do that.
And let's see. See, now you're trying to make him lift. You're just sitting there. You're not like doing anything with your legs or forcing him to. You're just sitting and trying to ask him to lift his.
I'm trying to not fall forward when he moves because his body movements wants me to fall forward.
And here you're trying to ask him to collect with your body. Your body asks him.
Yep.
And it becomes something that looks a little passagey, but that is not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to do this exercise.
No.
You're just trying to show him that it's possible to take this energy.
You can actually bend your hocks and knees and not freak out. And he disagrees.
He disagrees very much.
Yeah.
Let's try 31.65. And he's bending his neck and letting him stretch, and stretching the top line all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do that. This is a lot of the training, and it is important for very many horses. If you struggle with anything with your horse, say, if your horse is a little bit jumpy, or if you can't make the canter good enough, if it's difficult to sit in at any point in movement, all those sort of things can often be solved or helped by this. So we're not saying it is, but it might be. So if there's a problem like that, look for it.
And also you can see that you're using your seat to try to lift your bum forwards and upwards.
Yeah.
At the end of the saddle's movement forwards, so that you're encouraging him to lift his back.
Absolutely.
But we have one where you're going from piaffe to canter, and that is 5006.
Well, that.
It's on. It's actually on the tournament field with the lance, because Dalton is not afraid of the lance.
He's not afraid of things.
No, he's afraid of his body.
So you see here that he piaffes in the beginning. Not too bad. Not bad really at all. It's quite good. But then when he wants to strike off into the canter, he drops his shoulders to the right and his bum to the left. That means that he doesn't have to carry anything on the left hind right fore diagonal. You see there? He drops it out of the way. And also the reason for that is that his problem isn't strength. He's got plenty of strength.
Yeah.
His problem is stiffness. Mm-hmm. So he wants to move his body into a position where the stiffness isn't accentuated.
Yeah.
In that position, he's able to keep a much straighter left hind. And he doesn't have to push that weight up through where I sit and to the right fore.
Yep.
And that is why he twists like that. However, the attempt by both horse and rider, in my opinion, is pretty good.
Yep.
And for him at this moment, which is 2 or 3 years ago, was really good. I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's the reason why I've kept the video. And you also see in the strike off, he lifts his head.
Yep.
And tries. That is the biggest problem with this horse.
Yeah.
That he's trying to canter with lifting his front legs by throwing his head up into the air, and then the back will drop.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And you can see that. You can see that my bum, in like the second canter stride, you will see that my bum loses contact with the saddle more than it does earlier. So, okay, and there I'm loose.
And that is terrible to sit to.
Yeah, and the reason is that he contracts his back even more.
Yep.
And we have to so I have to try and ask him, can you do this? And if he can't, then we have to return to stretching. And then we have to go back to, can you do it again? And maybe he can do it a little better.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the stretching.
Little bit
at a time. Not freaking out, but learning how to think while he strains instead of just panicking. So you watch the hand. If you watch my hand, you can see that I'm giving all the time. The horse, the hand wants to go forward with the horse's mouth all the time. You see this? See that?
Yeah.
So when I strike off into the canter, I have to give him a little bit. That is to encourage him to stretch forward into the canter instead of just lifting his head and contracting his back even more.
Because if you have contact, like real contact, if you give, the horse will follow the contact forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't.
No.
But you still have to try and give. And this is a very difficult thing to
times.
do. Many people struggle a lot with giving when the horse doesn't follow the hand. I have students and friends that struggle with that like on a daily basis. It is really difficult. Because it feels like, especially here, like I'm sitting there, I'm getting a piaffe going, there's a lot of energy in the movement. And now let go. And the horse feels like it's going to just explode straight into, next season or something like that. But mostly they don't. They just go, oh, I can lift now.
Yeah. if they're over the back and if they're or
Yeah, or even if they're almost, yeah.
yeah.
So
then they will lift
Yeah.
their back and stretch.
yeah,
So I would like to see the 1812 overture now, and then go back to the Piaf to canter.
yeah, and then see if there's a difference in the canter.
And look at the difference in the canter.
This is really forward, and you can see his back is stretching and contracting a lot just in front of the pelvis.
And can we go back to the 5006 again after this? Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And here, there's no change in his back in every stride.
And also, it's impossible to lift his back when he's doing this with his head.
Yeah, and try to make him move forward and see what happens then.
And then he exploded. Yeah, he could manage to rear when he was cantering. So
yeah, he done that.
But this is quite okay.
This isn't too bad.
And you can see that his neck is longer and more relaxed.
Yeah.
And there's 2 or 3 years between those two videos.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could give with your reins, and he's trying to stretch at least a little.
He comes forward towards the hand. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right.
Shall we have a look at Mandart then?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I always want to look at Mandart.
Because I need to find. Let's try the cantering of him like 2 years ago, 42.29.
Not sure I want to see this.
No. He's trying to strike off into the canter from the hind legs. And he's like, no, it's impossible, Dad. This is not going to work.
Dad, you're insane. You see that? There's no traction. I can't do it.
And also the back behind the saddle is low.
Yeah.
So then it's difficult for him to lift you up when the back is down.
Yeah. Oh.
And he does the same with the head.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to throw the hind legs forward and the back doesn't yield, the head must come up.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
Yep.
I'm glad well, we got through it, didn't we? That looked like some sort of canter, in my opinion.
You must think that it's become extremely a lot better.
I want to see better.
Yeah, you can see better. Let's take the tilt with him as well then. 1767. Ah. This is over the back.
Yeah. And this is this spring.
Yeah. You can see that his nose goes downwards and forwards for each step.
Yeah, he stretches forward into it.
Stretches into your hand.
Yeah, and there is no change when we hit the quintain.
And we haven't got any videos of from the jousting this weekend. But he was just like that when you were in armor.
Yeah.
Or hitting others and were hit by the lance of the other rider.
Yeah.
No difference.
No. And he would stand absolutely still. When I received the lance, the takeoff was great and the down transition was also good.
Yeah.
I tried in one of the passes. In one of the passes, I really managed to take hold of him with my seat and my legs and ride him through every stride, just like they say you should do in the dressage riding. Mm-hmm. And he responded to that. But my brain then went blank and deleted all of that. So it was really, really difficult. There's a lot going on in your head at the same time.
I have an interesting video. I'm sorry that it's the wrong format, but it's 9125. It's from I took it on Dalton from his back.
Yeah. When
he was walking, and it's a long time ago because that is the first time he was actually over the back in walk. You see how he moves. Now he's really relaxed and he's trying to tense up a little there, but then he's relaxing again.
Yeah, you can see the musculature is snake-like.
Yeah, and he's He's like, you need the horse needs to be able to just rattle along like this, really relaxed. But he was not able to do it in any other gait than like the walk with
Long reins walk.
long reins.
Yeah.
But we've done that a lot, and also in terrain.
Right.
You can see it tensing up, and then I'm using my legs and my seat as well to encourage him to move his back correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's doing it correctly with his hind legs and his back,
Yeah.
the neck can relax.
Yeah.
It's important.
All right. So we have to gather all the threads now.
Yeah.
And get back to, so everyone can understand. It's easy in your head, and in my head we know what we're doing, but everybody else do not know what we're doing.
Yeah. So you need to explain, and I can try to find if I have some videos that you will illustrate.
Yeah. So what we've seen so far is we have taken horses from not being able to walk well or trot well, and now they're able to joust. With two different horses in this specific video, right? So Dalton is one of them. He's still not perfect in any way. Mandab is getting good, but he's still just 7 years old, and he will not reach like the platform for his potential until he's like 11, 12, hopefully. So he should have a good 5 years of increasing his physical qualities first, and then it should also be possible to specify his training after that. All the training we have shown now is general physical preparedness training. There is nothing else that has gone on than general physical preparedness training, other than when the horse already does work properly. If the canter is good, if the quality of the canter is good, both reins, then we might take the horse to the tournament field. At the tournament field is the tilt rail. The tilt rail is like a fence. If you want to do a proper good canter on the tilt rail, it should be at the left lead when you have the fence on your left when you're riding. And if you're riding with the fence on your left at a left lead canter, that is a counter canter. So that is just between the easy and medium dressage. And it's also supposed to be an extended canter, probably.
Yeah, true.
So it's either extended or it is going to be a rushed canter. That's the only two ways you can increase the speed, really. Either the stride is longer or the stride is faster. Of course, you can mix them both. Because
it's a difference between an energetic canter, energetic like extended with long strides, or a horse that is running in canter or galloping. Because you can easily gallop the horse down the tilt, but that is not, then the horse is not off the back, so it's not going to be strong in his back. So what we're talking about here is when the horse is doing what Mandar was doing in that last video, when his back is doing this for every stride, then it's going to be stronger and stronger. And if like if you hit somebody with your lance, he will do this with his back when you hit, and then he won't feel any trouble with being hit or hitting others. And then it's going to be stronger and stronger.
Yeah. So that means that the physical qualities of the horse are so high now that when you add something like a rider in armor and even hitting someone with a lance, he's more than strong enough to carry so that he can just push himself into it. And this is very important, because what happens when the horse drops his back just as you're hit? If you're sitting here, you're moving, oh, this is going to be difficult. You're moving that way, and this whole thing drops down, like the middle of the horse drops. That means that you're not now moving forward into the hit or the attack with the lance. So that means that you subtract some energy from the impact. And we do not want to subtract energy from the impact. We want to add energy to the impact. So when the horse drops his back like that, what's also going to happen is that your hips will close. and they will pull your whole body with them. So you get the sensation of moving forward with your upper body, but your hips are closing down and moving backwards, so they subtract from the speed of the impact. And now you're locking up in front, which means you can hold on with your stirrups, but you're moving half your body weight backwards while you're trying to strike. So it feels like you're doing a hard strike, but there is a better way. The better way is to allow the horse to roll its back up and forward, and then the saddle will help you open your hips up and forward, and then you can move your whole body into the hip. We practice the same thing, for instance, in American football. We practice to always push with the legs when you hit. That means that you have to use your bum and your hamstrings to push into every hit. And this is probably one of the reasons that I can joust pretty good, is that I had a lot of training in American football to do the exact same thing. Carrying a ball or a lance, well, it's not that much of a difference if you ask me. You're going to get punished anyway. That's what's going to happen. I am going to get punished. So this whole movement thing that we think is the best way to make the horse move good in like a dressage setting. Remember, dressage means training, right? And in a jousting setting or a fighting setting, it is the same movement. A fight or flight movement is the same. You move up and forward through the hips. That's where fight or flight happens. That's where you create the most energy. The reason? You have more muscle there than anywhere else in your body. If you're a horse or if you're me or Hanne, it doesn't matter. That's where the muscle sits. So if you can do that, that means you can fight better. You can deliver a harder strike. It is very easy to fall into the trap of, for instance, if you tie together your stirrups with a rope underneath, then you can hold your legs onto it. So when you are pushed back by the hip, your legs go forward into there and they get stuck underneath behind the shoulder or elbow of the horse, and then it feels like you can be stronger. But it's too late to be strong now. The split second is gone a long time ago, and you're now just pretending to be strong, which makes you feel strong, obviously, but that's not how you properly do it. So this training of the warhorse is real serious business. This is where dressage started. I believe, this is my belief, and I can't prove this, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this, if you backwards engineer it, this is what happened throughout history with horses, and then that is how we got into dressage as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously. There are manuals for like tournament riding from the medieval times that has got like shoulder ins and all kinds of dressage exercises.
Yep.
So what we're saying now is that you need all our earlier streams and what we said, all the details, all the nitty-gritty things that we have been talking about to understand what we're talking about right now. But that is the fun thing about riding, to be really good. Mm-hmm. It's complex, but then it's also interesting.
Yes. You can also, to add to all this war horse training, time is important. How much time you have to train your horse is obviously going to be one of those one of the limiting factors for what you're working on. So you might want to do, for instance, if you're going to walk your horse and stretch him a lot, you can do it in your tournament field if you have one, or you can bring out some of the equipment that you need to train your horse to. You can also like bring something that says cling ling 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 ling, and that'll help you train your horse with to your armor or to other people's armor and weapons and all sorts of stuff. And that's very simple to add. Just add a thing that makes noise. Go to your kitchen if you don't have any implements. But be careful about it. Bring a couple and just have them in your hand while you tack your horse up and see what happens. If the horse goes spooky, maybe you shouldn't attach it to the horse and send him cantering. But if the horse stays calm, keep adding a little bit of stuff like that. Also, what we do quite a lot, regularly, fairly regularly. We train a lot of passes on the tilt. So along that tilt rail, we go there and we walk the tilt rail, and then we trot sometimes, and we go back to the walk, and then we canter if we feel good, and if the horse is ready for it, we canter a little bit. Without armor, without weapon, with armor, with weapon, with a quintain, with an adversary, depends. So we move that along until that mental part is just boring. But we believe that the most important part of this is that the physical preparedness of the horse is such that the mental thing isn't a problem. If it isn't a physical challenge, it isn't a mental challenge either, most of the time.
It's very true.
Of course, noisy things, and there are little situations that you can get into that might, trigger a problem. Like if something sounds like a tiger is sneaking through the leaves, well, even if you are prepared, a tiger is a dangerous thing to work with. But mostly, we find that if the horse moves freely through and across the back and is strong and flexible and balanced, there's nothing that scares that horse.
And all the troubles, all those spookiness and all the other troubles go away.
Yeah, that's what it says in Muselet, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And he's right.
And he was a war rider, so. So this is how we have trained these horses, and they both performed well at the tournament.
Yeah.
One of them did, in my opinion, looked really handsome.
Yeah.
The other one looked good.
Yeah. Dalton. No.
That's well done for Dalton. He did pretty well.
He did well when you compare to his troubles.
Absolutely.
But Mandarb was really excellent, and that is what was impressive, was the thing that I talked about in the beginning of this stream, was this fact that we waited. You were so good you waited until he was like the basic, that you say that the general training, not the specific training, but the general training was come to a level where he was strong enough to do it in the right way. Yes. And that is something that we're talking about children as well. If they feel that they master the thing that the task that you ask them, and they master it, and they feel really good and about I made it, I was able to do it. And that feeling was when you got up on Mandarb and in the armor, and Mandarb was like, yes, instead of, wow, that was heavy.
The first time I was supposed to get...
that's a picture of him.
Yeah, there he is. Just before the tournament in full gear.
And you can see that he's lifting his back.
And you can see that he's also relaxed. And there is no
also parallelity between the cannon on his hind leg and the forearm, from the front knee up to the elbow.
Yeah.
Is parallel. And that means that it's a good chance that he's over the back. But you see that he's lifting his withers up.
Yeah, he looks powerful and mighty.
Yeah, and you did not fall for the, it's easy to be tempted to continue training then when he did that well. But you were like, you rode like a couple of circles and then you went off.
Yeah.
And then next time you did a little longer.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's just, it's about the coordination and the nervous system is learning how to cope with this extra weight. But if you are training him then until he gets really tired, and then you mustn't train until fail in the beginning there.
No. Whenever you introduce a new task like this, I tend to think of that like a new personal record. And a very famous powerlifting trainer, he said that there was one guy he had who trained with him who said that I always fail at the end of the workout when I do my max lift workouts. I get up to a new PR and I do it easily, and then I increase a little bit and I want to do the next one, and I always fail at it. what can you do? What can you help me so I can find out how to solve this problem? And this guy answers, it's simple. Don't do the last lift. Because you can train minimally. That means as little as is needed to get some result. You can train maximally. That will be the absolute maximum your body will be able to recover from. Or you can train optimally. So what we do is, when we find a new PR, for instance, when the first time I was able to get onto Mondarb in armor, I spent, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to find the courage to sit on him. And he was so fired up and he so much wanted to manage, and he's like standing still, but he was all shaking. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit on that bone. But we found out, got in, walked 1 or 2 laps or something like that, got off. And that's not because I don't train hard, because thank you, PR means personal record. That's not because I don't train hard. I surely train my horses hard, but not under those circumstances. Under those difficult circumstances, I make sure that the horse has plenty in reserve, so he always feels strong. You don't feel strong when you're maxing absolutely out. You feel like you're going to die. You don't feel safe and strong. But if you lift 90% of what you can do, I'm strong. That's what it feels like. So that's what we try to do with the horses too. To always give them that feeling that, oh, I'm strong, I'm tough, I can do this easy. And then the next time we do something a little bit more difficult, but now we've done the easy thing. Now it's very easy. It's not even, you don't need to mention that. So now we do the next more difficult thing. And we keep just lifting it a little bit. Bring that little cling thing the next time you're on the tilt rail.
Yeah, and then when you add the rattling stuff and the horse is feeling strong and confident, that is no problem.
No.
So we try to not it's like journey before destination. It's like, don't start with the destination. Just don't start with the armor. Don't start with the lance. Start with the basic training.
Yeah, basic training, like, you can think of basic training in many different ways. It is very easy to think that to be able to carry a weapon on the horse should be easy and basic. Yeah, for you. But that does not train the horse in its basics. And that's also important to manage. So definitely do the weapons training and definitely train for the specifics. But you have to make sure you separate that from the physical training of the horse that makes the horse strong, supple, in all the right places, balanced, all those things. One more thing that I need to mention. Mandar, before this tournament, where he did 18 passes really well, in my opinion. Slightly proud opinion, I might add.
You're allowed to.
Thank you.
It's true.
He had never done a full pass with 2 jousters in armor putting hits on each other. So, a few weeks, 2 weeks about prior, I was able to, in armor, put a lance on an armored target. That I have done. But I did not receive a hit at the same time, and my opponent did not carry a lance. Then, just a few days before the show, the Thursday, a week before our show, I believe, no, in the same week.
Yeah, in the same week.
In the same, it's like, so the day before.
I think it was Wednesday or something.
Maybe Wednesday. We had one of the safest persons with a lance that I know of set 2 hits on me. So we did 1 hit, that was perfect. We did 1 miss on purpose, that was perfect. And the 3rd hit was also perfect. Sat in the same spot and the horse did not change at all. Then come tournament, and I was thinking, I want to use my horse for 1 session in this tournament and see if I can make it happen. Because it wasn't important to me to win the tournament that I'm stressing and working to try and manage to do at all. But I wanted to see if I could bring my horse in and see what it felt like. But then we had some we had like some horses that we couldn't use for the tournament. So I thought, okay, he's strong enough, he's fit enough, I'll try and I'll see if I can do it. Then we did 6 passes in the first session on Saturday. Then we did 6 more passes in the afternoon on Saturday. I couldn't feel a thing. He wasn't even sweaty. And we did 6 more on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And he was untouched by it. And that is only because of the general physical preparation we have done with the horse.
Mm-hmm.
We have done a billion moves back and forth on the tilt, but that goes into it. And that is not the training. We have not done a billion passes in armor. But because of all that physical preparation, he easily handled the strain. It wasn't hard for him whatsoever to carry
really
me.
fun.
It wasn't hard for him to take the hit. It wasn't hard to do the starts and the stops. All of that was easy. And that makes it so that he doesn't have any stress other than if he thinks he thinks the mares are cute, and he thinks, well, the geldings are cute. He thinks most of the other horses are cute, really. But that was the only thing we had. So I think it is really important that we all know this, that the general physical preparedness makes a massive difference.
And I guess that all our streams have sort of led to this. Everything that we have said in all the streams have been important to show what we're actually doing to get a horse to perform on a high level, both for dressage and for jumping, for 3-day events, for Western riding, Icelandic horses, jousting, whatever. You need to work on the basics first. And the good ones, the really top people, they're always working mostly on basics.
Yes. You could also say that it would be really boring to watch all the training I have done to become really strong, to handle the lance, for instance, in the joust, or a sword for that matter. I have hardly ever trained with swords. I train a little bit with lance, but only for precision, because I can't feel the strength isn't an issue. And there was a guy that I watched, followed a lot in training. He said that the quickest way to gain 2 inches around your upper arms is to raise your squat by 50 to 100 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do the big compound movements, like a squat or a deadlift, we'll translate this to horse in a few seconds. If you do those big compound movements, that means that testosterone is put into the bloodstream, which makes you build more muscle and strength, and tendons are strengthened, and ligaments, and everything that happened that was wrong is repaired. That's what growth hormones do. So, and that's why, people use doping even for horses, because it takes care of all the things that go wrong. So what we do is we optimize the training so that we get more of that in our blood flow, and that makes it so the horse is strong. So stretch is important in order to be able to do the levades or the walked to canter transitions.
I have to smile because I had the exact same thought when you were talking about that. We should really have had a video of you doing the levade, because you could see that the horse is lifting his withers and his back when he's doing it.
Oh, if you say so, then I guess I promise we'll have it later.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So this has been something about how we train war horses. And you know what? We train all horses the same, only we focus a little bit more on cantering and doing small turns and circles, maybe, with the combat horses than we would do with the dressage horse that we want to stretch much more. So we might want to practice those specific exercises for the dressage horses. But that comes down to the specificity of the training. We will talk more about specificity later. We haven't decided upon the theme for the next stream yet,
No.
as
suggestions?
of to my knowledge.
No, we haven't.
So, questions or suggestions, leave them here with us. Send them to us, PM, DM, whatever you want to do. This has been a broadcast from Trollspejlet, and we are done with our Warhorse stream for tonight. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.